Hello and welcome to Custom Spray and Rods episode 2. Now most of the time before you even start painting you have two choices. Now today in this episode I'm going to show you the difference between acrylic and 2-pack on this door. Now before you start painting your pride and joy, I recommend getting some kind of panel that you don't really care about and test all the products before you go and do the real job. So I've got this door here. I'm going to paint the top half in 2-pack and this bottom half in acrylic. That way we can compare the difference. And this has a scratch here and a dent here, so I may as well show you how to fix them on the way. Okay, there's quite a few materials you need for this job, so I've headed over to VG Auto Paints, picked up all the stuff I need. Now I'm going to put a list on my Facebook page of everything you need for this job, so go ahead there and check it out. Okay, now when it comes to repairing panels, it's pretty much the same process whether you're painting in acrylic or 2-pack. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this dent here and that scratch with some 150 grit dry sandpaper and a block. Okay, as you can see, we've sanded this scratch out. Now we've made sure we've got the scratch completely out, and you can see here there's a little low spot. Now because the block's flat, it's exposed this little dent there. That means we're gonna have to put some filler in that. Okay, I've sanded my dent, and as you can see, because the block's flat, it's left a dent there, and you can see the primer around that dent. So we're gonna have to fill it with some filler. As you can see, I've feathered out the edge here, made that edge really fine. That makes it a lot easier when you're sanding it. Okay, so now that your filler's all nice and dry, you need to sand it with some 80 grit dry sandpaper and use a block. Okay, so I've put my filler in. I've rubbed it with 80 grit, then 150 grit, then I've gone in 240 grit. Now I've found some other dents in here, some bigger ones, so I've gone and repaired them. And for the bigger dents, I've used one of these things. It's called a speed file, and because it's so long, it follows the contour of the panel and makes sure you get a flat surface on your filler when you're sanding it. So if you've got a big dent, use one of them. Okay, so now I'm going to take out all my door handles and molds and anything that's stuck to the panel, and I'm going to sand it with some 400 grit dry sandpaper, and then I'll be ready for primer. Okay, so I've got my primers. I've got my acrylic 2-in-1 primer and the 2-pack 2-in-1 primer. I also need a 2mm spray gun, so I've got one of them. Now with the 2-pack primer, it's the hardener is pretty much not safe to breathe in, so make sure you use a spray mask like one of these, and you also spray it in a spray booth. So I'm going to do the acrylic now, so I'm right to go. Okay, I picked up one of these spray guns. It comes with a 1.8mm nozzle. It also comes with a 1.4 and a 2.5. Now for all primers you only need a 1.8 or 2mm. So I'm only going to add one of these water traps to stop any water from coming through the air lines and the compressor, and ready to go.
Now I found a panel shop that will hire out their spray booth. These guys are just across from Eastern Creek Raceway and they're happy to hire out to anyone. Okay, I've left the primer overnight to set, and now I'm going to sand it with some 240 grit and a block. By spraying some colour on there, I can sand it off and know exactly where I've been. Now I'm going to spray some more colour on there and sand it with 800 grit wet sandpaper and some water. Then I'll be ready for colour and clear. Okay, so I've gone over to VG's to get the rest of my stuff. Now these guys have got everything to do with painting and panel beating, so I know they're going to have the stuff I need. They also run free lessons to teach people how to paint and buff and repair dents, so check them out. Now I've found the colour that I want off a colour sample, but if you've got a paint code, you can punch it in the computer and bring up the formula for it. If you don't have a paint code, then bring in the sample and VG Auto Paints will colour match it for you on the spot. You can even pump it in a spray can if you want. Now it's time to mix up the acrylic colour and clear. Mix the acrylic paint, 1 part paint to 1.5 parts acrylic thinner, and make sure you use a paint strainer. When spraying acrylic products, they all use a 2mm spray gun, and nick the air pressure at about 55 psi. When painting acrylic clear coat, it always helps to drop the air pressure a little bit, and make sure you always use acrylic thinner. Now that I've got my primer all sanded, I'm back in the spray booth and it's time to do the 2-pack part. As you can see, the base coat dries flat, so we need to put some clear on. So spraying 2 to 3 coats, waiting 10 to 15 minutes between coats, you'll get the good finish. Once you finish putting the clear on, you can bake it in the spray booth for about an hour and then you can take it home. Otherwise, you can leave it overnight and grab it the next day. There you have it. This is the acrylic clear and the 2-pack clear straight off the gun. The acrylic on the right, you can tell that it's like really glossy and the 2-pack is just super shiny.
Well, as you can see, the acrylic looks shit. The 2-pack looks much better, so if you're ever going to spray anything, just use 2-pack. Whoa, wait a second man. You still need to cut and buff that clear. It's not going to look the same if you don't cut and buff it, so... Well, go on then. Okay, let's cut and buff it.
So with acrylic paint, you have to leave it for a couple of days and then cut it and buff it. Start by using 1200 degree wet sandpaper and give it a good sand. So now you've sanded it, it's time to buff it. Use some acrylic cutting compound, a woolen buff pad and a polishing machine. If it's a variable speed polisher, set it to about level 3 and just give it a good buff. Once you've buffed it, then just use some automatic polish, wipe it on and then wipe it off and you're done.
Well, there you go. We've got the same colour, and the top half we've got 2-pack clear, the bottom half we've got acrylic clear. Now the main difference you'll find is that the acrylic clear is a lot smoother than the 2-pack. But if you wanted to cut and buff a 2-pack, you could do that too. So it's just a matter of personal preference. Acrylic's a lot cheaper, but the 2-pack is a lot easier. So in the day, just give it a go.